Hey, there was another company that put out comics in the 70s too, wasn't there? One of Marvel's distinguished competitors? Direct current into another world of superheroes? A different comic from Marvel? And other clever sentences that involve the initials DC. Welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. Yes, I am generally Marvel focused in my reviews, but there's a very good reason for that. Actually, a couple good reasons. First of all, I have always been a true Marvel zombie in my younger years, and actually, really to this day, I just have always preferred Marvel over DC. I didn't really get heavy into DC until just before and after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Prior to that, I think mainly I was reading the Teen Titans, Infinity Inc., and All-Star Squadron, but that was about it. The other reason I don't do a lot of reviews for DC within the old KCOC, well, let me get to that in a minute. As far as DC's biggest hero, it's Superman, right? Can we all agree that that's their biggest hero, with Batman coming in at a very, very close second? I'm sure it's debatable, but I'm going to go with Supes for now. I didn't pick up a Superman series with any regularity, and maybe even at all, until John Byrne's Man of Steel came out. So my main knowledge of him outside of the Christopher Reeve movies and the TV show, and maybe some appearances in other comics, was pretty limited. Since I've been on this 70s kick, I thought I would find a Superman story arc from the 70s just to get a taste. So off to Comixology I went, where I purchased and downloaded a series of issues they had available. And this is a consecutive series of issues. And here is where I get to the other reason for not doing as much DC reviewing as I do Marvel. When I went to Comixology to find some 70s Superman, it was kind of slim pickings. They had, a few issues here and there, kind of little blocks, but not an entire run of Superman, or at least a long consecutive run of, let's say, 100 issues or so, or even 50s. At least not in 70s Superman, I should clarify. I think if you want the new 52 Supes, you can pretty much get all you want. But you want some classic Superman, you really had to pick and choose. So I found a set of issues from 1977, Superman 305 to 308. I figured this was one story arc. Otherwise, why put this set of consecutive issues out, right? The next issue they had was issue 341. So this set, 305 to 308, must be one story arc, right? Wrong. It turns out that 305 and 306 were standalone stories featuring the Toyman and Bizarro. They were kind of confusing stories as I read them. I didn't really get it, so as I went to issue 307, it was a start of a multi-issue story arc. So that made me happy, but guess what? The story didn't end with 308, which was the last issue of this little run I got off of Comixology. It actually ended in issue 309, which was not on the Comixology store. What? Why would they put out a set of issues and then skip the final part of a story? It really makes no sense. The Marvel Unlimited digital comic subscription service has long stretches of runs from Captain America, Spider-Man, X-Men, the Avengers, and many more. In fact, they may have the entire run of those series. Why is DC being so picky about what they release? Do they not have the originals? Are they just being jerks? I don't know, but you know what? I'm pressing forward because I was able to get bits and pieces of the final chapter to this three-parter via the interwebs, so let's get into it, okay? So we have Superman number 307 from January 1977, entitled Krypton No More. It was written by Jerry Conway with art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and featured cover art by Neil Adams. That's a pretty awesome set of artists for sure. So we opened this one in a style that appeared to be very common with the Superman stories from this era, immediately into the action with flashbacks explaining how we got to this point. They did this with the two aforementioned stories featuring Toyman and Bizarro. I suppose it isn't uncommon in comics, but it sure seemed to be a big player in these books. And I guess you want to get right to the action, but reading 3 stories in a row where they did this style, honestly, it made me kind of dizzy. Anywho, Superman is destroying a plant of some sort, and some dude in white is coming after him. Now, when I first saw this panel, this splash page, I thought that white guy was the Ray at first, but it turns out to be some dude named the Protector who can change his body into various forms. He claims he's a mutant with the power to change his molecular structure at will. Now, we're still unclear why Superman wants to destroy this plant, but the Protector is protecting it because he wants industries that pollute to stick around. Huh? So after blasting Superman, the Protector flies away, and now we get the flashback to see how this all started. Clark Kent, the secret identity of Superman, don't you know, gets a tip from a guy who works at a plant who claims that the workers are being exposed to a vinyl chloride that causes cancer, and the plant isn't doing anything about it. Clark decides to investigate as Superman by getting a tour of the plant from its president, Morton Kalmbach. Or Kalmbach, not sure. While on the tour, Morton freely admits that the company knows the plant is dangerous to their employees, but it's a socially acceptable danger. Well, that pisses Superman off, and he decides to destroy the plant, and thus we are now up to date. So, why is Superman that upset? Well, he lost his home planet of Krypton because of carelessness, and now the Earth is dying as well. By the way, this shot of Superman holding his head as he thinks about Krypton being destroyed seems a little melodramatic. I mean, seems like he should have come to grips with this by now, where he doesn't need to hold his head in anxious shock. So Superman continues his quest by lifting up an oil tanker out of the ocean to throw it into orbit. Now, I should mention, even though I'm not showing it, he did remove all the people first through a series of grabbing them and also using super breath to float people along. It was actually pretty amazing. And you know what? Here is the actual image of that. I just couldn't leave it out. So, oh, by the way, isn't this kind of the plot of Superman 4, The Quest for Peace? Maybe that was more on nuclear weapons rather than planet-harming industries, but still, there are some certain similarities. Now, before Superman can hurl this tanker into space, here comes the Protector. They fight for a bit, but the Protector gets away. As Superman goes back to the tanker, he is met up by Supergirl. Superman asks for help with the tanker, but she refuses. Superman asks if she wants the Earth to end up in ruins like Krypton, but she declares that Krypton never existed. What? They fly to Superman's Fortress of Solitude, where Supergirl just basically starts destroying all of the statues and the remnants of Krypton because, Krypton never existed, so why not destroy everything in Superman's house? I mean, she even smashes the bottle city of Kandar, although when Superman took a close look at it, he saw that everyone in it was merely dolls, which was kind of weird to him. Supergirl explains through some pictures that Jonathan Kent, Superman's Earth dad, and Fred Danvers, Supergirl's Earth dad, were scientists working in an atomic lab. Because of their exposure to radiation, both Superman and Supergirl were born with incredible powers and thus are human mutants. Well, before Superman can even begin to absorb this information, the Protector shows up, who explains that he owes his powers to pollution and that they feed his particular metabolism, so Superman trying to get rid of all these plants and super tankers isn't good for the Protector. Superman figures out how to anticipate when the Protector changes his molecular structure and manages to defeat him, but what will Superman do now that he knows he is not the last son of Krypton? Tune in next issue. I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary. I must admit, Garcia Lopez's art is very, very good. The flow of the story is a bit wonky, but I still enjoyed it. It's fun to see Superman when he basically had no limits to his powers. It really must have been a hard character to write, but I do think Conway did a good job with this particular story. Now, I read somewhere that this 3-issue story arc was an effort to put together a story in the Marvel Comics style, but I don't think it got quite to that level. I think DC was still in the mindset that comics were only for 9 to 13-year-old boys, and thus the writing gets shoved down a bit to that level. Still, there was a fair amount of drama and self-angst in this one that wasn't apparent in the 2 issues I read before this one in particular. So what's up with all this mutant stuff and Krypton not existing? Well, we'll dive deeper into that with my next episode, so go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to like and share this video. So until next time, please have a great day, and I will see ya.